didn't even think about re-up money. Like, how was I going to get new drugs in this thing? Only thing I thought about was just selling it. And every day me and Jay would just spend the money, buy sneakers, buy clothes, you know what I'm saying, go to McDonald's. And that was the thing. And that set me out. So when I finished that, and then with nowhere else to go, I created a clientele. And then that's when Spanish, a good friend of mine that watched me grow up, Spanish Jose, which Jay mentions in The Reason Moved Out, you know what I'm saying? He approached me. He approached me with a good deal, and showed me the real game on how it works. And I never ever looked back from there. That was it from there. And everywhere I traveled, I made sure I had Jay with me, because things got bad for me in New York at one time. My mom saw me in the streets. She saw me taking this turn. She tried to relocate me. So I moved out of New York to Jersey, Trenton. And when I got in Trenton, it was more saturated. It was way more saturated with drugs and hustlers in Trenton. And, you know, that was just like the college of hustling for me when I got to Trenton. But after that, man, went back to New York, told Jay, you know, how I had things going on in Trenton, and told him, look, man, in no time he was in Trenton living. We was living with each other.
So as you're rising up like that, you've got to get in some scrapes together. Have you got any stories of scrapes you and Jay were in?
What you mean scrapes?
Situations.
Oh, man, I mean, situations come with that. You know what I'm saying? But depending on who you are and how you do business, that's how situations go. That's how situations occur. The few situations, the minor situations that came, I never, ever let Jay be involved. Any situations that had something to do with dealing with, you know, coming on the streets and it was going to result to violence, I would never have Jay around with me. And that's under no circumstances. So, you know, I remember getting into shootouts over territory in Jersey and told Jay to go home for a little while until things, you know, calmed down. But that was just like a situation where I wouldn't want my little brother in. So most of the situations we probably had that I had, man, I handled on my own and didn't want him involved. Because you got to understand, like, when we left New York as teenagers, you know what I'm saying, that was one thing that his mom had asked me, like, you know, make sure that my boy is okay, make sure that my son is all right. You know what I'm saying? So I would have never put him on the front line of anything that has something to do with violence. Plus, that's how my mom looked at him as a little son, and he looked at us as my little brother. So I wasn't going to let nothing happen to him.
So, you know, earlier you said you met at school and now you've jumped. How long were you guys doing these things together?
Seventh grade, 6th, 7th grade. Been hustling since 7th grade, yeah. From petty hustling, like I said, I didn't really start to see any real money until I left New York in 88. I left New York in 1988 when things was like at its peak of the crack era. And ain't look back.
You ain't look back.
Ain't look back. I mean, it only got bigger. And like I said, even down to the violence of me getting shot for him, when you mentioned in the title. And these are the things that come with that street and the drug game. It was unfortunately that my connect set me up, but like I said in certain, you know, in past interviews, man, it wasn't about me trying to be no hero or nothing. It's just the simple thing that I was responsible for him. So I had to get him out of there, and I ended up getting shot.
All right, before we get to that, so it sounds to me like, and I've heard you previously talk about Jay-Z as being more like a chess player. what was he contributing to your business operation?
I mean, as a little brother, the small things. Hey, I need you to do that. Hey, I need you to do this. Go collect that money from them over there. Hey, those, he would have his little, build his little crew up and participate too as well. I would never say he didn't hustle at all. And he showed up when I needed him. When it was time when I needed him, he showed up. He had definitely had a different way of hustling than me. But he showed up. There's times that I don't screwed up some money. It's definitely times when I don't screwed up some money, and he actually helped me get it back to where it's supposed to be. So, but it was always like a small task, what I'm saying, that I would ask him. I wouldn't let him really put him out there on the front line of doing anything. And if I would have asked, he would have had no problem doing it. You know what I'm saying? I would never say he was a punk or nothing, but he wouldn't have no problem doing it. I think he would have did it just to prove it to me. You know what I'm saying? But,
Would you say that it was you and him running it, and then you had other people working for you guys?
Say again?
Would you say that it was you and him running the business, and then you
Oh,
had other
no.
people working? You had other people working for you guys. That's how it was structured.
Well, it was four of us. It was a team of us. It was me, Jay, an uncle, and a good friend named Panama. It was always four of us, and everybody had a role to play. Me, I was more on the front line of being out on the strips, hand to hand, with the customers, being around the customers most of the time, hand to hand. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see and feel it. It was some type of energy that I used to have for this. Jay, his hustle tactic was always having someone to work for him. You know what I'm saying? He definitely, I don't know if it was, to show that he was, that he was more business minded when it came to that kind of hustling that way. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand that he had to be away. He was away a lot of times in the studio going to do, working on his music. So it was good for him to have people working for him while he's gone. People working for you is also a cut of your money. So, that's how he didn't mind. But me, I was just more in the front line of like, we're going to need all of this.
So would you say that it was your collective skill set that enabled you to have a good run in that business? Because you see many people get in that business and they fall quite fast.
I would say I always had a gut feeling for something to go wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it was. I always had a gut feeling, an intuition about when things ain't going right for me to make a different, turn it in a different direction, try something new, move to another territory. So most of the time when I feel that way, just like things was going for me bad in New York, I ended up in Jersey. When I felt like things was going bad and I wasn't getting a fair deal out of in Trenton, I moved to Maryland. I set up an operation in Maryland. So it's those things that saved me. When I felt like I don't want to sell drugs anymore, period, and stopped in Maryland, and that's when it did. That's when the worst came, when I actually stopped. You know what I'm saying? 3 years later, after I stopped, I ended up getting locked up. So that's more further into my case. But it just always was an intuition about me, having intuitions and making choices, different choices. That's what made me have a longer run in the game. Just listening to how they used to talk on my trial, and I seen a few police officers and law enforcement agencies that got on the stand that said, they wasn't able to really keep up with me, because I never really stayed in one spot. I never sat down. I was always out looking for a new territory, looking for a new area, looking for new money. So yeah,
When you see movies that portray this story, it's usually like the same story arc, Scarface or whatever. There's like the glitz and the glamour at the beginning, and then there's like the peak, but then everyone's getting addicted and everyone's getting paranoid, and then the feds start following people around, and then there's the consequences. So you've described the first phase brilliantly, the rise and the mechanics of the operation. Could you get into more detail about the second phase where you're peaking and then the feds start to come in, and any stories from that period?
The second phase is the enjoying it. The second phase is enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? Enjoying your work, your riches. You know what I'm saying? The cars, the jewelry, the women, all that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely the second phase. Without the second phase, it would be no reasonable doubt. You get what I'm saying? That's what reasonable doubt is all about. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know, that was that made us. You know what I'm saying? That's why that album is so important to me. That's why I say that's my whole life on record right there.